Hey class, welcome to another lesson. And we are actually going into a new unit, and this unit is called financial literacy. I love this unit because I love to talk about and to teach about financial freedom and how you can stop all of this hustle and bustle and paycheck to paycheck stuff that people are living in and find your financial freedom. I teach adults about this, and I'm so glad to be teaching you the basics of financial freedom over these next financial literacy over these next couple of weeks. And so the standard that we're working on today is 7.13C, which is called net worth. And our learning objectives for today are the learner will know, or if you're reading this with me, you can say, I will know. So I'm going to say, I will know. I will know the difference between assets and liabilities and how they are used to create a net worth statement. I will understand how a net worth statement is used to describe a person's wealth. And I will be able to explain the difference between assets and liabilities. So here's the main question that I'm sure you're asking yourself. Why is net worth important? And so today's lesson is important because net worth, uh, here's what we hear about net worth. We hear about net worth in the New York Times or Forbes talking about Bill Gates' net worth versus, anybody else's net worth, or one rapper's net worth compared to their net worth, or a basketball player's net worth compared to another basketball player's net worth. And that's not why it's important to you, though. That's how they use it. Why it's important to you is because when you know your net worth, you know how much money, you'll know how to make different financial decisions and if it's smart or not. Because net worth, how you use net worth is you're going to start down here in net worth. And eventually, your objective over your lifetime is to have your net worth grow over time. Okay, grow over time. And so you have to make these decisions on these financial decisions that affect your net worth. And we're going to be going over that today. And it'll help you make these financial decisions when you know your net worth and how these different financial decisions will affect your net worth. So here's an example of why it's important. So who has more financial value? Excuse the turn and talk. This is for an actual classroom. Who has more financial value? Is it person one who has $285,000 in the bank and they owe the bank $300,000? Or is it person two who has $175,000 in the bank and owes the bank $1,500? I encourage you to pause this video and think for yourself, who do you think has more financial value? Who has more financial value? So I hope you paused the video and you really thought to yourself who you think has more financial value, because this is a simplified version of what it means to have a net worth and the differences in net worth. Okay. And so person one has $285,000 in the bank. And so when we talk about wealth or who has a lot of money, that's what we think is who has a lot of money in the bank. Okay. And so when we're talking about person one, they have almost $300,000 in the bank. And that's a lot more than person two, who has only $175,000 in the bank. But when you look at it, the person one, even though they have all that money in the bank, they owe $300,000. And so even if they used all that money that they have in the bank and they paid that money to the bank, they wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't be able to cover what they owe. And so they are actually in debt to the bank more than what they actually have. Now let's look at person two. Person two has $175,000 in the bank, but only owes $1,500. If person two were to decide today to pay that money that they owe to the bank. It would not hurt them financially. Now that is financial freedom, and that is having a positive net worth. To whereas person one has a negative net worth, meaning they owe more than they own. And person two owns more than they owe. Positive. And so let's look at this. So our vocabulary for today, one is called assets. Assets are things that you own, or things that you own for yourself. Okay, like your PlayStation, your house, your car, your collectibles, a value of a famous name. Okay, those are things that you own that have value. Okay, those are things that you could probably sell and either to make money on, to continuously sell it, or to sell to make money one time. Okay, these are things that you own. All right. Liabilities. A liability is a bad thing. It's something that you owe to other people. For example, debt. A mortgage. A mortgage is how much money you owe on a house, and you pay your mortgage monthly if you own a house. Now you may own that house, but you still pay monthly to pay on that house. That's called your mortgage. So you still owe the bank money for it. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. Now, a car loan is something is a liability because you are indebted or you owe a certain amount to the finance company that gave you that loan and allowed you to pay. They gave you money to pay for that car, and you are indebted to them to pay that back. And that is that indebtedness is a liability, whereas the car would be an asset. Okay. Net worth. So net worth is calculated by subtracting the liabilities from the assets, and it's used to describe a person's economic value or wealth. And what I encourage you to focus on is not focus on other people's net worth, but on your own in the future or now, even. So it's calculated by subtracting the total liabilities from the total assets. We'll talk about a little bit more about that tomorrow. So a net worth statement is basically a grid where it talks about your total liabilities and your total assets, and it's just an organized way to show how you calculated your net worth. And so it's basically paperwork, but it's called a net worth statement, and it's a way to show people or to show yourself uh, your how you calculated your net worth. Okay, and when you do this in the future, it's to show yourself where you are and what you can do, how you can create a bigger net worth, a greater net worth that's positive. So, who has a bigger net worth? Is it LeBron or is it MJ? I mean, not MJ. Mike. Yeah, MJ. Michael Jordan. Who is it? Who do you think? Well, if we look here, it is actually Michael Jordan. He's got a lot of different assets going for him. He's got his name on different shoes. So his name and his figure are very are big assets of his. And I'm sure he has liabilities, like he owes stuff. LeBron, he's getting there. He's getting there, but his name is not as legendary, as big right now. Not talking about their abilities. I'm just talking about their worth, their assets that they have working for them. You don't see his name across a lot of different places, but you do see his name a lot, and he's getting there. Uh, he will be one of the big ones when we talk about this years from now. All right, so it's actually Michael Jordan. So I'm actually going to get out of this, and we're going to talk about some net worth. Okay, we're going to talk about net worth. We're going to talk about assets and liabilities, and we're going to go over some of these. And so I have a chart here, and on my left side I have assets, and on my right side I have liabilities, and I'm going to organize the different things in my life into the different categories and what they are. And so if I have cash, and I have cash on hand, meaning cash in my pocket or cash not in the bank, basically cash that I can spend immediately, that would be an asset. Now, student loans means that I have to pay that back since it's a loan. That would be more of something I owe. Okay. Cash on hand is something I own, an asset. Student loans is something I owe, a liability. Stocks are your ownership into a company. Stocks are an ownership into a company, and so that would be considered an asset because you can get paid on those stocks if you have those types of stocks. Your home is something that you could sell. You could potentially make money on, depending on how the market does. But you either way, you could sell it, and people would pay you money for that home. And so, so uh, home would be an asset. Credit card balances. Now, people get mixed up between debit cards and credit cards, and they actually use them interchangeably. But when you have a balance, a credit card is one where you don't have the money, and people swipe because the bank is loaning you the money in order to pay for that stuff because your credit is saying that you have the ability to pay it back. And so a credit card balance is something that when you have a balance, it means that you owe something. Okay. So it means that you owe something. So a credit card balance is a liability. Furniture. Furniture is an asset because it's something that you own. A car loan. Well, you have to pay that car back. It's something that you owe. Car loan. Something that you owe. It's called a liability. I encourage you to say that with me. Bank loan balances are a liability. A cell phone bill, something that you pay, it's a liability. But if I said cell phone, that would be something that you own. That would be considered an asset. And a savings account is an account that where you save money and you have money in it. So if you have money in it and it's yours, that is considered an asset. So savings account, furniture, home, stocks, and cash on hand are considered assets. If I said PlayStation, that would be considered your asset. If I said clothes, that would be considered your asset. Something that your asset. That's something that you own. I'm sorry, I was doing the wrong way. Own asset. Now, if your friend lets you borrow $10, your liability would you would have a liability, meaning that you owe your friend $10. All right, and so another liability would be I'm trying to think. Did I put car loans, student loans, your mortgage? Your mortgage would be something like that you owe. If you had to pay your parents back because they let you borrow money, that would be a liability, something that you owe. You have to pay back eventually. Okay. And so these are assets and liability. Assets, I encourage you to say this with me after I say it. Assets are something that you own. A liability is something that you owe. Assets are something that you own. A liability is something that you owe. Now your turn. Assets are something that you, and a liability is something that you. I hope you got a lot out of this video and you understand the difference between assets and liabilities. And so here's your exit ticket for today. What is the difference between assets and liabilities? What is the difference between assets and liabilities? So I encourage you to make sure that you are um, answering your exit tickets. This you would actually answer this at the end of today's folder. Let me know if you have any questions over assets and liabilities, or if you're curious about if something is an asset or liability in your life, and I'd be happy to help you. Stop into my office hours or tutorials, and I'd love to help you.